Before we talk about where we are, we must first remember from whence we came. Marty Schottenheimer brought winning football back to Kansas City and built what is now known as Chiefs Kingdom.
We transitioned from a team built on its defense in the 90s to one of the most dominant offenses and return men in NFL history, led by Dick Vermeil.
In 2012, a 2-14 Chiefs team displayed disastrous play on the field and turmoil off it. We asked to save our Chiefs, and in came Andy Reid, who immediately turned this franchise into a perennial playoff team.
Then, on April 27, 2017, the Chiefs broke free from their journeyman quarterback restraints and drafted Patrick LeVon Mahomes.
In 6 years with Patrick at the helm, we're back-to-back champs and a dynasty headed towards a three-peat. We are unrelenting for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the allies. Arrowhead allies.
Welcome in, everyone. The wait is over. It is Arrowhead Allies, and we are live here in beautiful Kansas City, Missouri, the home of your current Kansas City Chiefs, but it could be the temporary home for your Kansas City Chiefs. But we have got to get to our man. We are starting off this show with our guest, former Chiefs offensive lineman Richard Baldinger, everybody.
Woo! And he's got something behind him this time. He's going to have a background.
Here we go, guys. Mayor's still in the penitentiary. Haven't gotten out yet. Probably best to keep me here. Our luck's good as long as I stay down here in the hole. God forbid I get into a studio. Things might happen. Might be crazy. So, Happy New Year, guys. Great to be back with you. You can't go this long without football, can we? I mean, it's just
No, we can't.
Tough.
you know. I'm sorry. Nothing else matters, does it? And from the draft on, it's like you're just counting the moments until we're all back on the field again.
Well, Rich, it's great to have you back. We've always enjoyed you joining us pregame, postgame, wherever game we're here. It's an honor again to talk to you. You know, Rich, I want to get right to it. We've had the situation happen with Rashee Rice this offseason. It brings me back to my first year as a Kansas City Chiefs season ticket holder in 1991. 3 days before the Kansas City Chiefs opened up the 1991 season against the Atlanta Falcons, Billy Jones, the starting fullback, was involved in a hit-and-run accident late at night here in Kansas City. It was news. They showed on WDF TV4 this car. They didn't show an accident. They just showed his car hitting the picture of it sitting on the side of the road after it hit the other car, and Billy Jones left the scene. Marty Schottenheimer handled that situation privately, and he suspended Billy Jones that first game. I talked to J.J. Burton about it, and he just said, you know, Marty, like I said, Marty Schottenheimer handled it privately, and Paul Tagliabue didn't even get a chance to get involved. He was suspended. He missed that first game. When you look at this situation, granted, I know it's 22 and a half years later, and there's video of the Rashee Rice hit-and-run incident, it looks really, really bad. Are you surprised that Andy Reid didn't have a private discipline in place for Rashee Rice opening OTAs this week? Or do you think that will come later after Roger Goodell implements what we believe will be a suspension?
I think that's it's kind of the way the Chiefs handle most things now, don't they? They just kind of put it behind everyone, don't talk about it, bury their head in the sand with it, and just deal with it and let the league take the lead on it and see what happens. I guess there's a lot of factors involved with this. Whether, paraphernalia involved, walking away from an accident, negotiations on what, where you're at with everything. So there's so many different moving parts. I think the best, to be honest with Andy, I don't know if he could have even said anything or done anything right now, because there's just so much that could still happen. And it's probably better that he just supports this kid the best he can right now, because between me and you guys, I don't know if this guy's going to see the football field this year. An accident like that and everything, I think he's going to have some issues, and hopefully he gets through them. I mean, I don't want to speak bad for him, but I think that to see him on the field in the first half of the season might be a stretch. That's my prediction.
Man, good to see you again, Rich Baldinger. I heard some news today about Tom Brady, and I know this is look real random right now, but it has something to do with the Chiefs. So Tom Brady is in the running to buy the Raiders. That's apparently not dying. And then at the same time, it's him in the broadcast booth. Now, Mike Florio brought up a good point on his podcast about, well, let's say that the Chiefs are, in the Super Bowl against whoever, the 49ers again, and Tom Brady is on the call. And Tom Brady is in those meetings. He's in those practices with the team. And, maybe it's not the Super Bowl. Maybe it's a playoff game. Maybe it's just a regular season game or something. But with Tom Brady having this much access and this much like ownership over so many little things and having his head in so many little things, do you think there's any way that Clark Hunt can step in and put a halt to all of this craziness that's going on? Because Tom Brady seems like he's going to have a lot of access to a lot of teams.
I think a lot of people are going to have access now. Aren't the owners looking at selling equity into these teams
yes,
now?
Lord. I saw that the other day.
I mean, folks, I think this story's got legs. Follow it. Think about it. You have gambling now in the NFL. The value of these teams, I mean, what is the Chiefs' value right now? If they win a 33rd Super Bowl, what are they, $5 or $6 billion probably? I mean, who wouldn't sell that? I mean, they're the hot stock and it doesn't go down. I mean, I can see these owners thinking, you know what, can I cash out 50% of my team and I'm sitting on $2 or $3 billion? Pretty good investment, I would say. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting with Tom Brady in the booth finally if this happens. I'm still wondering whenever is he going to get there? But to understand. I mean, how is he going to handle this? Because he was so into this game. How does he handle other quarterbacks who don't see the field like him and all this? Right. How's he going to explain it, but yet do it in TV time? TV, you got 20 seconds and it's got to be done. So I know there's one reason why Joe Montana never got involved with TV, because he said you could never give the proper answer. So it'll be interesting, but I still think this story, finding out who's going to be investing in these teams. Now, I know I'm wondering if this rule is not going to change in the next collective bargaining. Right now, active players cannot have an equity stake in teams. Will that change in the new collective bargaining agreement when players like Patrick Mahomes are making $100 million a year, right? I don't know. Can you still pay these salaries and get it done? So I think this is going to be an interesting story going forward. I hope I answered that question.
No, you got to it, man.
Baldy, it is great to finally talk to you again, man. I believe the last time you and I were on air together was when you, me, Clint, and Noah were on for the Dolphins pregame out there in Germany.
Yeah.
And as I recall, Baldy and I picked the Chiefs, and I believe Clint and Noah picked the Dolphins. And I think that went me and Baldy's way. So, Baldy,
we went to DEFCON 5 that day. I remember the military was at DEFCON 5 when these guys picked against the Chiefs. So.
I digress, Baldy. I digress. Baldy, I digress. The point is, and again, it's good to talk to you again, man. It's been too long. You being a former guard / tackle, you played both positions. I know that's a spot that you probably watch very closely. Whenever I want to talk about tight ends, I go to my guy Jason Dunn, and I get his advice, his opinions on what he's seeing from Jared Wiley, the young rook, or what he's seeing from Travis Kelce at his advanced age. I'm coming to you today, man, because for the last 2 years, the position that I've been looking at closely is protecting Patrick Mahomes' blind side, which is now, in my opinion, going to be the job of Kingsley Suamataia. And I know that Wanya Morris has gotten some experience there. He's started 4 games, played at left tackle. I wasn't impressed by him so much. I know that he still has time to develop, but I think the Chiefs were big on Suamataia for a reason, not just because he was a BYU guy like Andy Reid, but because they believe in his athleticism. They believe that Andy Heck can really mold him into becoming that staple at left tackle. Do you see it that way first and foremost, like I do? Because I believe this guy is going to be the starter at left tackle. He's going to win the job. He's going to surprise a lot of people, kind of like what Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith did in their rookie seasons in 2021 when everyone thought Austin Reeder or Nick Allegretti or one of those guys are going to win that job, and those guys day one. I think that's going to be Kingsley this time. Do you see it that way, or do you think he's going to be more of a development player and Wanye might squeak him out?
I think it'll be some playing time back and forth between both guys. I think this young rook from BYU, I've got to come up with a nickname because there's no way I'm going to try to pronounce that last name, guys. I'll butcher that one for sure. But in watching film on the young man, what I do like about him is he always has got a good base underneath him, whether it's pass protection or run blocking. And I think, that's the one thing you got to begin with. One of the reasons why I think Joe Alt went where he went for the Chargers, just because what he can do run blocking. I think this kid at BYU, it's the same way. He's physical, he's got strength, and I think he's better at the point of attack than what Wanye is. Now, not that Wanye Morris can't become that. I mean, out at Oklahoma, it was that spread offense. You're in a 2-point stance. You kind of just playing out space. The NFL, it's got to be more physical one-on-one. So it'll be an interesting matchup out there at the left side for Patrick Mahomes. Hopefully we settle this immediately because, we've had some issues out there sometimes. So whoever is there is definitely going to be a guy that has to be able to do both. Be able to run block, knock somebody off the ball, but also play in space. And that's what makes it tough in the NFL nowadays at that tackle position. Yeah, you got to be able to dance with the best, but you got to also be able to maul the big bear in front of you. So we'll see what happens. Should be an interesting battle in camp.
Rich, last week we talked with Frank Bull. All the allies weren't present for it, about the schedule. So we kind of want to bring you into this as the schedule was released last Wednesday. The Chiefs, let's face it, they're the Barnum and Bailey circus. It doesn't matter the country, the date, the city, the state, the network. The Chiefs are on it. No days off except Tuesdays this year. What do you make of this schedule, Rich?
How about 3 games? What is that? 3 games in 10 days? I mean,
Yes.
that's crazy. I mean, how are you going to be ready by the 3rd game? What's going to be left of your body at that? I don't understand. But last year, listen, the Christmas game, you knew the ratings the Chiefs got. You knew the owners were never going to walk away from that. They were going to sell that forever, and they did. The Netflix, I guess, got involved with that. So, yeah, I mean, everybody wants the Chiefs. I think they got the most, 325 games, which gives you broadcasts from coast to coast. Yeah. So, I mean, they are the hot team now in the National Football League. They're the number 1 team for TV. They bring so many good stories. Patrick's play on the field is always simply incredible. People said they just to watch the magician, what he does, game, quarter, and play out. So it's you figured this is what's going to be for the Kansas City Chiefs as long as Patrick Mahomes is back there as quarterback.
Yeah, and Rich, if you are correct that Rashid's not going to play much, if at all, this season, what do you make of the receivers? I mean, they brought in Marquise Hollywood Brown, slight, little, fast guy. They drafted Xavier Worthy. I think I have a wet rag in the sink right now that weighs more than him. So what do you make of how they're going to utilize these guys and get them open, and Xavier Worthy's not going to be abused by press coverage?
Yeah, it will be tough for the young man coming in the National Football League. That's the number one thing, Can you get off the line of scrimmage? Now, tremendous athleticism, but yet also I guess which is going to be difficult. And listen, I hope Rashid is on the field from the get-go, guys. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want him out there because we need him because, we all know the complications of Andy's offense. What is it? Every route, depending on what type of coverage, what kind of shade, you could have 3 or different 4 positions where you need to be on that field. So it's just a learning curve for these wide receivers, let alone the skills that you need in the NFL. So it will prove to be difficult. That's why, as long as Travis is out there at the tight end position. So, still we want to settle our left tackle position. So, is Patrick going to have to get rid of the ball quicker? So there is a lot of, moving parts still as we talk about left tackle, wide receiver, Rashid Rice, what his future is going to be, what's going to happen with the league and him and everything. So a lot of unknowns. And, but I don't know if there's a better coach in the National Football League than Andy Reid, who finds out a way to solve the problem and be successful on the field.
And we still have our trusty fallback options in Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. So all mine should be.
Didn't even mention that, guys. I didn't even want to go there on that one.
And McCole Hardman's still out there to be signed if we wanted to. There's a lot.
There we go. I mean, the wide receiver position right now, it's still some question marks, and you'd like to have Rashid out there, but as I said, this situation, I believe the commissioner is going to have to put his foot down on this. Luckily, nothing really severely happened. So I'm just hoping that whatever the suspension is, they get it done, get it over, get the kid back on the field playing football.
Rich, we're talking today and yesterday and tomorrow. The OTAs are taking place at Arrowhead Stadium, or they're at the practice facility. What are these kids feeling? What are these rookies seeing? And what are the veterans saying to the rookies at this moment? What if you're a rookie and you're coming in and let's say you're a guard, and all Andy Reid said at his press conference today, that it's just a passing drill. If you're a guard, as a rookie, what are you trying to absorb during these passing drills at practice this week?
Well, I think one of the first things you do as a rookie when you come into a camp is you just watch the veterans to see everything they do. How do they run on the field? How do they line up? What do they do on every play? Before and after every play, what are those little nuances they do? How do they put their hand on the ground? How do they get their foot back? How do they get out of their stance? How do they move? All those little things you're watching, because now you're at a different level. When you line up and you're going against one of those NFL premier defense people like Chris Jones, now you're just watching everything he does. How does he come off the ball? Pad level. What's his counter moves? You just watch, because there's so much to learn, and you have to absorb so much of it quickly and everything. So from an offensive lineman standpoint, I remember going to the Giants, and Bill Ard was there before me. And, it's just guys that, it was just like, Richard, you've got to come in and just watch some of the older guys, just the way that they move around, how they, on every play, their footwork, where their eyes looking. How do you maneuver through traffic and all that? So there's a lot of little nuances that you're beginning right now. You're not even thinking about the plays. You're just seeing, well, how do they play at this level? Because I was in college and it was 100 times slower. Now I'm with these preeminent athletes. So how do they move? What do they do? What kind of jump can I get on them to become a better player than them, or at least get my skill level to what they are?
Man, one of my opinions about sports is that coaching is so significant in the National Football League. I think more than any other sport out there in the world. But when it comes to this team and the coaching abilities that we have with Andy Reid, and more to my point on the defensive side with Spags, man, I cannot brag enough about the job that man did last year, especially during the playoff run. And I know it's going to be hard to duplicate what the Chiefs did last season, because honestly, it's one of the best defenses of all time. If you look at the stats, the playoff run, and what they were able to do. With that being said, what are your expectations with this defense coming into this year, and the legit coaches that they have on that side? I look at Coach Merritt, the defensive backs coach, as being definitely a top defensive coordinator candidate. What are your expectations with that defense in this upcoming season?
Well, I think the one thing you look at on this defense, and guys like Chris Jones coming back and being there ready to play, they're the type of people, they just know, like, guys, we have to get our level back, practicing, whatever. They're the guys who will always speak up, and they'll know that practice is not where it needs to be. We're not where we need to be in terms of fundamentals. So, the one thing about Coach Spags is that defense was just movement of people on the field, constant movement to different positions, disguise, the coverages, the blitzes, the way they pressured people. I mean, it was simply amazing what he did during the playoff run. I mean, the offenses that we shut down, and I just think Baltimore couldn't run the football and everything. So I look for the same thing again. I mean, I think Coach Spagnuolo has shown the National Football League he's one of the best that have ever coached defenses in the National Football League. But the one thing about these guys is fundamentally they're sound. We do not see the Chiefs make a lot of mistakes on defense. Now, there's going to be some breakdowns, don't get me wrong. But overall, for the Chiefs, the one thing you got to say is there isn't a lot of times where people are running wide open, or we're running into each other, or people are falling down because they're taking the wrong steps or something. It just doesn't happen. And so from a fundamental standpoint, and believe me, guys, in this league, if you cannot improve your fundamentals and make them consistent all the time, you will not stay in this game, because they're watching film. Every receiver's watching film on you. Every defensive lineman's watching film. Offensive lineman watching film of other defensive players. They're going to find out your weakness. So that's where you have to be perfect. And I give credit to the defense of the Chiefs. I think when you watch them and break it down, footwork and press coverage and man coverage, simply phenomenal all the time. Never crossing their feet, always in a good position, balance. That's what makes them a good team. I'd like to, I don't see any reason for them not doing that again this year.
Got a two-parter here for you, Baldy, but real quick, Noah, I was curious that towel that you referenced a minute ago. Is that by chance a hand towel? Because if it has hands on it, it might be able to catch footballs. I'm just throwing that one out there, which might become something reliable for this team. Baldy, back to you, man. My two-parter is, first, it's a really quick question in regards to the running back room. We know that Isaiah Pacheco is the guy. We know that he's a stud in this offense, and he's a guy that can really turn the thing on when it needs to be on. When you can tell that the offense is struggling or clunking, he gets a big run, he makes a physical play, and then it just kind of jolts them. That's great. But we also know that in his 2 seasons, he's had a lot of injuries he's already dealt with, and I don't think that's going to slow down by his physical style of football. I think that's only going to continue, which is why I believe the Chiefs need to have a little bit of a contingency plan in place. It's scarce out there right now, just like wide receiver, and the Chiefs obviously didn't add a lot to the running back room through the draft or anything of that nature, which is why I look maybe to a veteran player adding a Dalvin Cook or Leonard Fournette just to give him a blow, adding with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe a Deneric Prince, guys like that, just to have depth. Your thoughts on that? And so my second question is back to the receiving room. We know that Brett Veach and Andy Reid have a type. We know they like the smaller speedster guys. We know that Rashee Rice is the one true guy that's actually panned out. And ironically, he's the big physical receiver that they've invested in heavily in the second-round pick, which is why I tend to believe, and why my belief has always been, if you're going to go veteran or if you're going to go in the draft, I like to go bigger physical receiver, because more than likely that guy's going to be the one that pans out in this league as a top-tier receiver. And so if I'm looking at the Chiefs right now and Brett Veach, the way he's been building this team, the one place that I do have legitimate concerns still is at wide receiver, because he has whiffed a few times at that position. If Xavier Worthy works out, then that changes the whole narrative. But if, let's say, Xavier Worthy doesn't turn into this stud wide receiver, guy that was a first-round talent, then I have to ask the question, because the Chiefs are eventually going to have to write a check to a receiver. It's inevitably going to happen, because you're not going to have Travis Kelce there forever. You're not going to be able to play it cheap forever at wide receiver. Do the Chiefs eventually say, you know what, we just need to go and compromise and go and trade for a big-time name from another place, like a Brandon Ayuk, a DK Metcalf, or somebody like that? Or do they just keep swinging the way they're doing and just hoping for the best? Because in my opinion, I think door number one sounds a whole lot better.
Well, you have truth to your statement on that one part. Yeah, you'd like to have the big number one receiver. I think a lot of people have said that. But the one problem you have to remember is that Andy's offense, the way it schemes and where you need to be, you might be an X somewhere else, but you come in, you might be a tight end with Andy. You might be at a running back position on Andy and sets. So one of the things you have to understand with Andy's offense is that, and this is where I give Andy credit so much, he's changing the NFL to me. What is a tight end anymore? What's a wide receiver? What's a running back anymore? Because in these offenses anymore, you've got to be able to go to the slot. You be able to go to the X. You got to go to the tight end. You got to be able to run the ball, jet sweeps. There's so many things that are required of skilled people that even from my time were unthinkable. It just didn't happen. So I think whatever Andy's looking at, and we can talk about, do you want the big receiver, the number one receiver? Whoever comes in, they're going to have to fill all those roles. You're just not going to come in and be that one guy, as we just saw with what Tyreek was to this team. Yeah. From special teams to slot to X, whatever. He could be anywhere and everywhere, and that's what makes this offense effective. So how they accomplish that, it's been amazing to me, because they haven't gone out and got all the skilled athletes, the premier guys that you think about. But yet this offense seems to be unstoppable. At times could just explode. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, you'd like to have that big guy, but does he fit in? Can he do all the things that are required of him in this offense that Andy demands of his skilled players?
Or you could be Sky Moore and be nowhere. I mean, there's lots of options here.
Don't say Sky Moore to put my
There
face up
it's
here.
Tony. I think I shot myself in the foot on that one.
We're all in the same boat. What do you do? They're still on the roster after all. Rich, all offseason, of course, you start pointing to three-peat. Patrick Mahomes is talking about it in interviews. Travis Kelce's talking about it on his podcast. The three-peat is the thing. You bring back Chris Jones, you sign him to a big deal. They're all in. They're going for it. When you look at three-peats that have been, stopped in the NFL history, you think back to the 80s and the 49ers and Joe Montana getting hurt, I believe in 1991 in the playoffs there to stop that from being a three-peat, or the Cowboys after that in 1993, or on into the 2000s with the New England Patriots in 2005 when they suffered a rash of injuries. Aside from things that could happen during a season, we know injuries are a big part of the game. When you look at what could stop this from being a three-peat, where does your eyes settle on right now when it comes to that?
Well, I think you always have to begin with injuries, guys. I mean, what happens during the season? We can sit here, say we've got the perfect offensive line, the perfect defensive line. We've got all the spots filled. We've got all the receivers. And boom, you have injuries and just doesn't happen. Knock on wood, for what we've had with Patrick for a majority of his career, this guy's been able to survive. I mean, it's simply amazing to me how many games and what he does, the way he sacrifices his body, but yet can still be there week in and week out. So, number one, knock on wood, I won't talk about it anymore, but we all know the big word injuries. Is if you can keep away from that, you've got your chances. Hey, listen, other teams are eventually going to find ways to beat the Chiefs. I mean, I think we've had question marks on the offense, but Andy's been able to find ways, but we've slowed up. I don't think we've been explosive as we were before, but now with word of this young guy, maybe we've got the new Tyreek on the team. So other things can happen again. So, but as long as your defense is playing the way that our defense played last year, and as long as guys like Chris Jones are in the middle, where he can go from a defensive tackle to a defensive end to a shade, the improvement we saw in the defensive line, and then in the secondary. I mean, when you watch us, it's magic on the field, the way that we took away routes, receivers, attacked people. So we've had players, but yet also coaches that are able to put players and bring them into their best, make them play their best on the field. As long as you have that, the Chiefs are going to have a chance. I think, to me personally, it's injuries. If we survive that bug and we can keep guys on the field, I don't think there's any reason why the Chiefs can't do a three-peat right now. Because, the other teams are going to get better. We saw the Chargers drafted well. The Raiders tight end to Kid Bowers, Brock Bowers from Georgia and everything. You think you're going to be better. But in this league, I just don't think it happens overnight. I just don't think it happens overnight when you haven't had a lot of success at these teams. I think it takes a while for them. And that's why I believe Andy has the best chance of anyone right now to go ahead with a three-peat on this team, because I just don't think there's enough of those teams yet. With people think you bring in a new guy, it's going to happen automatically. I think you see that it doesn't, and it's getting the right mixture. And you think of Cleveland, they got Deshaun Watson. What's he played? 10 games in 2 years up there for him. So is he going to be able to stay healthy and be that player on the field you want? So it might be a different team with him as quarterback than Flacco. So
well, I hope so. He did get a Super Bowl ring tattoo on his back. So,
well, Joe did good. He just had a couple issues at the end, and but I think you just see that. I mean, it's injuries, it's keeping the team together, the unit, and again, we love to look at what happened in free agency. We love to look at the draft and bring players in. But I'm going to tell you what, guys, if they don't work together, if they don't get along together, it doesn't happen on the field. And I've been through too many of those teams, too many of those players, and seen it and understand it. And that's what I give Andy credit for. And maybe he doesn't bring the best talent in. It's not the premier wide receiver or maybe running back, but yet whoever he brings in seems to get the job done that they need to get done. And so I give him credit. Not all of them worked out. I think wide receiver might be the one question mark, but still, overall, they seem to be able to perform on the field where they need to be.
Well said, Rich. Going for that three-peat. By the time the Chiefs are going for their 10-peat, they might be in a new stadium here. We were hopefully that they can stay in Arrowhead. Jackson County voted down the renovations that the Chiefs kind of meekly put out there. We're not sure these are the best that they could come up with, but maybe they didn't want the vote to pass all along. Maybe it was a ruse. Maybe they wanted to move to Kansas. As we look at the stadium, the mock-ups here of this spaceship over in Kansas. What you played in Arrowhead, we grew up watching Arrowhead. It's nostalgia. We want to keep it, but what do you think about a potential of this Arrowhead moving to Kansas?
I think the potential is pretty good. I think this aren't they guaranteed also a casino if they go over there? I think that's part of that package. I think so hotels and everything. I mean, it's all about dollars and cents and what states will be willing to offer and what they'll give the teams. And these owners are smart people. They're very smart people. You don't have a business the way the owners have and the way they've grown this. And we can see to continue to grow overseas. Looks like Australia is going to have some games. South America is going now with football. So this is going to be a worldwide sport. It's watched by everybody. So, I'd love the Chiefs to stay, but if I'm a betting man right now, I never really did too good betting in casinos, so maybe that's lucky for us. So I don't know. I think they would. I think it's probably going to happen sooner than later.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, we can't thank you enough, man. It's been too long. Please stay out of a Turkish prison this summer so that we can bring you on again as the season gets underway. I know the hair is growing out a little bit. I was hoping you hadn't been captured indefinitely. You're just growing out the hair naturally, I guess.
I'm holding on to the strands that I got, guys. That's all I can say now after that helmet. It doesn't leave much on top of the head, but it's great being with you guys. Yeah, I look forward to be back with you this season. It's going to be a tremendous season again. And you got to think that all these games with these other teams becoming more competitive, I think the Chargers and things, these are going to be some great games this year to watch. So it's primetime football when the Chiefs on TV, and it begins with us. So I'll be ready to go when the football starts.
We can't wait for it. Our Chiefs pregame show, Kingdom Kickoff, will be every day but Tuesday, apparently, thanks to the schedule makers. So we look forward to it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah,
thank you. Always an honor. Take care.
Rich.
Talk soon.
That was Rich Baldinger on Arrowhead Allies.
Chiefs offensive legend from 1983 to 92.
You got to love how a guy named Baldy has all that lettuce on his head.
Man, it just drives me nuts. When you look at this, you're staring at an anomaly here, boys.
Bro, who are you talking about? If I took this hat off right now, we'd all be blinded right now. I'd have the chrome dome showing off. Let's
Clint, you got the same hairstyle as Roger Kratz from Doug.
That's why I usually wear a hat on the program, boys, but there is no dress code in the off season.
Rich Baldinger's brother, everybody knows, Brian Baldinger, is only 360 days older than Rich. Also played with the Indianapolis Colts and I believe the New England Patriots. So they got a brother. They're not only close in age, they're both NFL players. And
when are their birthdays?
Great.
He had another brother that was an NFL player too, Gary Baldinger. 3 for 3.
Yeah, Gary Baldinger also played football. I think he's a couple years younger than Rich. But the other Baldinger, they're both January and late December. I think Rich is late December, and Brian's
two Capricorns.
Oh yeah. God, we're not Brian. We're not doing Brian. We are not doing We're not doing horoscopes right now.
Two Capricorns.
We are not doing horoscopes right now.
When's your birthday, Lance?
Time of the program where we
I will tell you off air.
horoscopes.
I will tell you off air. We are not doing horoscopes tonight.
You seem like you're giving me.
You just did the robot, so I don't know what you said, but you know what?
No,
I'm not telling you.
no,
I'm telling you off air. I'm choosing to still be your friend. I'm choosing to still be your friend right now. The fact is, I know to add to Brian Baldinger. Have you seen his hands?
Yeah,
it looks like when he does this, it looks like he's doing gang signs. Like he has the most like
his pinky goes way out.
This dude's been through war, man. This dude's been through absolute. Those guys' hands are nuts, man. I don't know if Rich has the same type of hands, but you can tell when those dudes been in the trenches when they got like fingers going in all different directions, dude. Those guys are warriors, man. But no, I'm not a freaking Scorpion.
And how about a little bit of a game of Would You Rather? And we'll start off with Brian's favorite player, McCole Hardman. Would you rather Dexter McCluster or McCole Hardman?
Oh, McCole, baby. All day, every day.
Wrong
Dexter all day,
answer.
every day.
Sexy Dexy, he was cool. Just wasn't fast enough for my speed.
Not
I
fast
think
enough.
no, he's not as fast as McCole. Let's be clear.
Cole can't move. He's stiff as a board. Like he
Okay,
just
man, I'm not about to get into this with you, Noah, right now.
moves, baby.
This is
You-
such an
so you-
off-season topic.
You would rather have Dexter McCluster, who
Yes.
can really who couldn't run routes like McCole can.
Oh, I might have to leave the show again.
Oh, really? And did you watch the Super Bowl?
Well,
What?
Okay, thank you. All right. And
Yeah.
how many of those McCluster has? He had a nice punt return against the Giants. That was cute in
He
2013.
also caught a Hail Mary against the Bears, caught a leaping, diving touchdown against the 49ers,
okay,
which McCole will never lay out for a football. It's got to
Okay,
be right in
bro.
this red basket. McCluster can locate a football. He played with Matt Castle, Romeo Cornell, and Todd Haley, not Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid.
I think Noah's going to go with McCole. I don't know why, but he just keeps going. You know.
I'm
Yeah.
with
Can I not get
Sexy
back
Dexy.
Yes.
I
Shane?
can only compare Dexter McCluster to Sky Moore. I think I wouldn't
Do you
compare.
see the
McCall.
touchdowns up there, Shane? 9 of them.
I compare Dex to DeAnthony Thomas. I think they're the
No,
same.
that's
player.
fair. That's
Anthony stinks.
But
Anyway,
just
our next one,
small receivers.
Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco?
Kareem Hunt.
Oh,
Kareem Hunt.
man.
Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt in a heartbeat. Kareem Hunt. And let me tell you why. That man was when he was at his apex, when he was playing that 2018 season, those first 10 games, he was maybe the most unstoppable player offensively in the league. He had 14 touchdowns in 10
now,
games.
Lance.
So hold on. I'm not saying he was better than other guys. I'm saying he was having a season unlike any other running back in the league at that time. He was putting up Christian McCaffrey numbers. He had 7 receiving touchdowns and 7 rushing touchdowns in just 10 games. That dude was on pace for over 20 touchdowns that season. I love Isaiah Pacheco, but let's be real. Isaiah Pacheco is more of a brute running back. Kareem Hunt had so much to his game. He could run the ball very well between the tackles, and that man could catch. You remember the Patriots game in New England, and I'm not talking about the one.
That was his first game.
Obviously, that one was great. I'm talking about when he had Mahomes and he goes out there and catches that deep pass. You don't see a lot of running backs doing stuff like that, especially at his size. He had great, reliable hands. He could run routes out of the backfield. Kareem Hunt was such a more complete player. I would take Kareem Hunt over any running back over the last 10 years on the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah. I remember that seam pattern that Kareem ran out of the backfield, just went right up the seam during
That's what I'm talking
where
about.
the slot is.
Yep.
But you make a great case, okay, and I don't think you can go wrong with either or. But Isaiah Pacheco, man, he just has such a tenacity about him, about his game. He's like, I call him the Tasmanian devil, man. It's like folks don't want to tackle him. I compare Isaiah Pacheco more to Marshawn Lynch. I think they are very identical in how they run, and he's faster than Lynch was. He's faster than Kareem Hunt. And that's what sells me with Pacheco. His intensity, his willingness to hit and lower his shoulder. He can still catch the ball out of the backfield, not like Kareem Hunt could. Kareem Hunt was special in that area. And yes, Kareem Hunt does provide. He's like an every down back. You really don't take Kareem Hunt off the field, but Pacheco provides such an intense motor and tenacity and speed. I gotta take Pacheco, man. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna take Isaiah Pacheco because Noah brought me with him to interview him 358 days ago, and he was really cool.
Well, now I'm going to have to take you to interview Kareem Hunt. So I got to sway you back to the light.
Thank you, Noah. I appreciate you for
Kareem Hunt is well on his way to being another generational talent drafted by the man, John Dorsey.
Yeah.
Until
No bias here either. No
look
bias.
at this.
Woo!
That man.
Were you all with them in Mosaic?
No, we were not there.
No one's ever
Pictures
invited me to
too.
Mosaic, Brian. Come on.
Okay. My bad.
Larry Johnson did, but
Don't tell me that was the last one. We don't have more of these.
Hey, we do have a scenario that
I need
Shane.
more.
We brought a scenario that Shane had for Lance on the spoken.
Here we
I added a
go.
little bit to it. Green wanted to trade Trent McDuffie for DK Metcalf.
No,
I added a second round pick in DK Metcalf for Trent McDuffie.
no.
I'd take it.
Hell-
Yes.
hell
You get a
no.
second round draft pick back? And the
Hell
Chiefs
no.
are rich at cornerback right now on the roster?
No, we're not.
Yes.
We're not rich. We're not poor, but we're not rich.
Where are we deeper at? Cornerback or wide receiver?
Corner.
Without question.
Receiver.
What?
Not, it's not
Brian.
close.
Oh,
No,
Brian.
no.
Bro,
Brian.
what?
Brian.
Listen, okay, look, y'all estimating the loss of L'Jarius Sneed to this team. Okay, the other starting corner is Jalen Watson.
Joshua Williams.
That's the other starting. Come on, man. You
Kamal Haddon.
excuse me.
6th round
You
draft pick.
told me-
Collins, Nazi Johnson.
Nazi Johnson.
So
Nick Jones.
they haven't done anything.
Except
All
win
due
back-to-back
all-
Super
all due respect. What they do? When you see Nazi
Yeah.
Johnson in the
I'm
Super
not.
Bowl, what do you
no,
do?
no.
Come on, man.
Let me pull back. I'm not even mentioning Nazi Johnson. I'm talking about the fact that the Chiefs have right now 4 cornerbacks that have already won. They've never lost a playoff game. These guys have been absolute studs. Like, do you remember the AFC Championship game? How big that game mattered against the Bengals 2 years ago, when
Yes.
L'Jarius Sneed in 4 plays went out with a concussion, and who picked him off?
Watson
It wasn't
tipped the ball to Cook.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
Cook tipped it to him, and it was
not Watson, Williams.
It was the two
Williams,
rookie
excuse
it was
me.
the two rookie cornerbacks, not Trent McDuffie, that picked him off in the biggest
McDuffie
game
had 0
of their career to
interceptions.
that point. You see what I'm saying? Like this, and that's not even a knock on McDuffie. That's actually praise to the fact that he is already as great as he is over there, shutting people down. And these two guys are over here making big plays that get the Chiefs the ball back. That's my point, dude. You don't have game-breaking players like that in this offense on the wide receiver side of things. Maybe Hollywood Brown
Yes,
can do
you
that.
do.
Hold on, but Hollywood Brown has played.
Marquise Brown.
Hollywood Brown has played 0 games with the Chiefs, and he is a wide receiver too. That's my point. Is that
Jalen
this
Watson
team,
has started 0 games for the Chiefs, and he's been on his team.
and
3
he's
years.
and he's made more impact for the Chiefs in big games than Hollywood Brown has. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, any of them. Tell me I'm wrong.
Listen,
There's
I'm
some
not.
numbers
I'm not.
too, if you like
I'm
numbers.
not saying. Listen, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying that the Chiefs corners are bums. I'm not saying that at all. Great players, great guys. They are unproven fellas. Okay,
And what are the wide receivers?
They didn't take down Tyreek Hill twice last year. They didn't take down Justin Jefferson last year. They didn't take down Devontae Adams twice last year. L'Jarius Sneed did a lot of that work. Let's be
Yeah, not
clear.
Trent McDuffie and
Who's-
L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, thank you. Who's the one that scored the play that won the game? It wasn't. It
Well, I'm
wasn't.
saying,
L'Jarius Sneed was shutting people down.
Okay,
These other
so-
guys have been making plays their whole careers. They've been making plays.
My point is, why give up your best corner, undoubtedly your best corner, your best defensive back, to be honest with you, for a wide receiver? Why?
I'll explain.
Especially after last year.
I'll explain. Because you paid Patrick Mahomes $500 million. This team is going to win more Super Bowls with their offense being great than their defense being great. It's the fact that this team, as I just pointed to Baldy, about the fact that this team, to this point, maybe Brett Veach will change it. Maybe Xavier Worthy will be the one that changes the narrative. But to this point, Brett Veach has whiffed at wide receiver several times over when it comes to giving up draft capital and or drafting guys early in the draft. So you have to go and get guys that you can rely on. And if you look at those numbers again, DK Metcalf and what he did in a run-first offense with mediocre at best quarterback play, he's putting up wide receiver 1 numbers, averaging 1,066 yards and 9 touchdowns a season. And that run-first offense with a guy in Tyler Lockett who gets the majority of the targets anyway, you put him in this offense with Patrick Mahomes. Again, Trent McDuffie is an absolute bowler, and I love that he's on this team. But let me ask you a question. What chances are better that Brett Veach, based on what you've seen in his draft history so far, what do you think is the better chances that he drafts the next Trent
Corner.
McDuffie or the
Yeah.
DK Metcalf?
Corner for sure. But my thing is, man, is like I'm playing GM. And I am not about to give up my best defensive. I just gave up my other best defensive back. I'm not about to give up my other best defensive back now for a wide receiver. For what? Last year there's no need to. And you said something earlier with Baldy on the show, something about the Chiefs are going to have to pay a wide receiver eventually. No, the hell they're not. No, and we discussed this on your show this past weekend, Lance, about college becoming a wide receiver factory. This is why the Chiefs are not going to extend Rashee Rice. This is why the Chiefs are not going to pay big top-notch money to a wide receiver. They're not. They're just going to draft more.
Well, I'm not saying that the Chiefs are going to. Hold on. I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to reset the market with the receiver. I'm saying they're going to eventually have to pay a guy 18 to 20 million a year. It's going to happen because you have to have You have to solidify a piece. The reason why the Chiefs haven't had to do it yet is because they've had the luxury of having Travis Kelce there every single week since Patrick Mahomes has been there. That's the whole point. If Travis Kelce retired in 2018 or 2019, you're telling me they hadn't paid a receiver by now? They clearly would have. You know what I mean? That's my point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Look, no, you good. I was interrupting you, but I was just excited to get this point out. But as much as all of you love John Dorsey, I do too. John Dorsey is cool. He could not manage the cap. You all forget about that. He cannot manage the cap. And
I said that all along. He was horrendous.
He gave contracts at bad times to players.
Yeah, thanks, Eric Berry.
Justin Houston for one, Eric Berry for two. All right. But my point is that and it hasn't been all on Kelce. It was a certain wide receiver who was drafted here last year. By Brett Veach, who was, I want to say, one of the pillars of the offense last year. I'm just saying, man.
It's now causing all sorts of trouble in Dallas.
The only reason this really is really big news is because 3 weeks ago tonight we found out that the Seattle Seahawks and the Kansas City Chiefs were talking about a trade for DK Metcalf. And by Noah throwing in the next year's second-round draft pick, that would give the Chiefs 3 second-round draft picks next year, plus keeping their first and getting DK Metcalf in return in the long term. That helps. That would definitely benefit the trade. Yes, you would lose Snead and you would lose McDuffie in that trade, but it is strangely odd that the Chiefs have so many defensive backs. Lance talked about it with RGR on his show a week and a half ago, and he thinks it's because they're going to compete with Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams and Kamal Haddon, the rookie, and Najee Johnson. They're all going to compete for these jobs, and one of them may be cut. But I think to myself, if that trade, we're speaking hypothetical, but again, the Chiefs and Seahawks have talked trade for DK Metcalf, as we talked about 3 weeks ago. But if you throw in that second round draft pick for next year, I take it. What were you going to say, Lance? I'm sorry.
No. Those are great points, Shane. I 100% agree, and that's why I was kind of shocked when Ryan Tracy was saying that as well, because I looked at Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson as staples. He sees it a little bit differently. What I'm going to say is this: I see the cornerback room the same exact way Brian is viewing the wide receiver room, where he thinks it can continuously be a rotating door, and maybe you'll be right because they've just won back-to-back titles with one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the league. That's without question.
Pissing off
I see the cornerback room the same way because, again, we can sit – people think I just want to criticize Veach all the time. I'm actually giving him praise because he's so damn good at drafting cornerbacks and defensive backs that I don't want to see him spend big money at that position. And if Trent McDuffie keeps getting all-pro seasons, and he's had one now, if he gets 2 and maybe 3, the Chiefs are going to have to spend money on him. And is that smart as opposed to spending that money elsewhere where he's not as good at drafting? Because if you're spending money, that means you're spending at a position that you're not able to reach through the draft. And the Chiefs are clearly able to hit late even at that position where Trent McDuffie's at. Could Trent McDuffie be that special, unique one-of-one player that they pay unlike any other corner they have to this point? Sure. But my point is, based on the logic and the way that Brett Veach has built this team continuously, and he has a continuous way of doing it, it's very, very consistent. Is that the way to do it? And my question is, because my brother, sitting aside from me, Trevor, on the show, we had this very heated debate about this very topic a couple of weeks ago, and I was obviously on the side of I would make the trade for DK. Trevor said he'd keep Trent. Fine. My question is this, because what Brian said was totally, fair about you don't want to lose, Trent McDuffie after you just lost L'Jarius Sneed in the same offseason. That seems illogical. My question to you is this, Brian, and anybody else that wants to answer it. If it was to happen, let's say that tonight we get this alert, the Chiefs just traded Trent McDuffie, all-pro Trent McDuffie, and whatever else comes together for DK Metcalf and whatever comes together with DK Metcalf. Are you still not picking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, that's unfair to ask me. Like, ask somebody in Vegas. Like,
I'm just like, do you not believe? Would you not confidently still pick the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl? Because we know this defense. We know this defense is not built around corner. It's built around Chris Jones.
Yeah, but it ain't gonna be fun.
What? Last year was fun?
Well, okay, I take that back because you all said last year's run wasn't fun. And
it wasn't.
Like we won a Super Bowl, bro. Like what are we talking about? like come on, man.
We had this talk. They won, but it wasn't fun.
Man, it was stressful, but it was fun. We won a Super Bowl. Everything was fun. Period. I'm never going to complain about that. But it's going to be totally different. It's going to be Dick Vermillish because the defense is going to suffer so bad. And what's going to happen when the defense just cannot get off the field? Oh, that is an insufferable feeling. It's almost the same feeling as if when the Chiefs were to get DK Metcalf and Noah and Clint would just be wearing 14 jerseys every single show on Arrowhead Airlines.
Yes. Yeah.
But I might wear one anyway.
It is demoralizing, y'all.
Get me a Seahawks 14 down here.
We've seen plenty of games where the Chiefs just get mowed down on defense, not necessarily in the Andy Reid era, more in the Vermeil era, Gunther era, Todd Haley era, where we just get mowed down and we cannot get off of the field. Peyton, okay, fine. Bob Sutton, let's bring him up. Peyton Manning kept getting us. Third and short, get a first down. 2nd and 5, they get a first down. They just cannot get off the field. That is a demoralizing feeling. Then we can't even use DK Metcalf because Patrick Mahomes only has 30 seconds left to score 8 points in a playoff game. So it's just I have PTSD, fellas, a bad defense. I'm sorry. I would much rather have a bad offense than a bad defense.
With Patrick Mahomes,
you always have a chance. You always have a chance with a good defense.
Then how did we not win Super Bowls in the 90s? How were we the winningest team and didn't win a Super Bowl in the 90s? That was your time. That was your time to shine, Brian. What happened?
Well, I think we're pretty evenly balanced, so we don't have to worry about that.
I think
you spend your money on the defense, man. You draft offense and you spend your money on the defense.
But Brett Veach can't draft offense. He drafts better defense. So it's got to be reversed, like Lance was saying.
But to the entire point of the situation at wide receiver, we know that the Chiefs and Seahawks did talk trade for DK Metcalf. We know the Chiefs were interested in OBJ. We know the Chiefs had Zay Jones in town. So we know the Chiefs are at least looking for that one veteran wide receiver presence. We know that for a fact. So could that come after the June 1st
Chris Godwin
salary cap day? Could it happen then? Sure.
Another receiver? You all want another receiver?
Yes.
Brian.
Chris Godwin.
What I want. It's about what the Chiefs are looking for. They wouldn't have showed interest in trading for DK Metcalf or getting OBJ or having Zay Jones in town if they weren't looking for that one veteran guy. It's not
the
about
Chiefs
me.
have never been serious about getting OBJ.
The Chiefs were interested in OBJ. Isn't that right, Lance?
3 straight years. 3 straight years.
They were not seriously interested in that dude.
Be that as it may, the Chiefs are looking for that one wide receiver veteran.
And again, watch on June 1st when you see maybe a surprising name, maybe like a Chris Godwin from the Buccaneers gets cut, and he wants to play for a contender to up his game at 29 years old, and maybe get that next big deal in 2025. Watch for Chris Godwin or a guy like that to be signed by the Chiefs. I'm telling you guys right now, the Chiefs are not happy with their wide receiver room. If they are, they're absolutely insane because Baldy said it straight. There is a chance, and I don't believe it, but there is a chance that we don't see Rashee Rice this season. I think he's going to get 6+ games. But that he doesn't understand how long that is. And with the schedule the Chiefs have, not having your best receiver, he is their best receiver. Not having him for a month and a half to 2 months to longer, that is a substantial loss for this offense. So you have to upgrade. You can't rely on Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney to play meaningful snaps in this offense. And that is what it looks like right now. That is scary. That is terrifying.
Both of those guys may not even make the team.
Okay,
that's
but
what y'all worried about?
Brian, but hold on. If you're right, and I hope you are, if both those guys are gone, who are they replacing them with?
Justin Watson, anybody?
Guys on the roster. What?
Who's on the roster? I like the potential of Nico Remigio, but we've never seen him play in a meaningful game. Justin Watson is a fill-in wide receiver 5. My point is there aren't guys here right now.
Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney playing meaningful games,
and they suck. So you got to go and get guys that can actually make a difference while Rashi's off the field.
I understand what you all are saying. I get it. I got it. Okay. And I'm not like all the way disagreeing with you. There's just some little nuances where we disagree. I guess philosophy wise is where we disagree at.
Yes.
And I'm always looking to check balance the checkbook, and it's like right now, it's a lot of money invested on offense, man, between the O-line, between Patrick. Defense. I think you guys, and we're gonna have to see it and experience it. But I think you guys are really, really discounting the defense and how much worse it can be than last year. Like last year was so good. Our expectations are really high with this defense. And I'm just saying, I'm not sure if that defense can meet you all's expectations this year.
Oh, no, Brian,
just about balancing the checkbook. That's all.
Real quick. I don't want to dominate the airtime, guys. I apologize, but here's my thing. I'm actually very confident in this defense, and I don't take anything away from. That's actually the point I'm trying to make. I don't want last season to be replicated. I don't want it to be where the defense has to save this offense's ass every single week. When you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you shouldn't have your offense be getting saved 7 to 15 times a season. That's my point, is that Patrick Mahomes had to will this offense to score 20 points a game last year. That is inexcusable. And we all know it wasn't his fault. It's because he had guys that could not catch the ball. And what do you know? His GOAT tight end finally showed a little human side of him. That's the point I'm trying to make, because you don't want to put it on the defense again, because I believe this is going to be a top 10 unit again very easily. So give them a little bit of a break, because Chris Jones is only getting older. We saw Nick Bolton miss half the season. Maybe that happens again. You don't want that to happen again. Drew Tranquil's had his own injury history. We've seen some of these other cornerbacks get hurt. Like Baldy said, they have to avoid the bug. And sometimes teams get bit by it hard, man. That's the point I'm trying to make, is you want to stockpile some offense to give yourself some insurance to help the defense out, because they did not have that all season long, man. And that is why last season wasn't fun. Did they manage to get it done? Yes, but that was by the skin of their teeth, man. You cannot rely on that to continue to happen year in and year out. If you want to continue to build this dynasty and win 4, 5, 6, 7 championships, you got to get smarter and a little bit more proactive and not reactive and say, okay, that didn't work, let's try it again. No, you got to try new things. And like I said, if a veteran comes available like a Chris Godwin, you cannot hesitate. You have to go and grab that guy and add him to the equation, because like I said, you need insurance for the defense, and you need insurance for whatever's going to happen with Rashee Rice, no matter how long he's going to be out, man.
Very well said. And that's been enough fighting amongst the allies here. We need to make fun of some other teams. And so I've got some trivia here. Why not just a little trivia? There are 4 teams in the AFC East. Guess where the Jets rank in division titles, everyone?
5th.
Brian's heard this before.
Was it a trick question?
5th.
Yes, 5th.
Yes.
Way to go, Brian.
No, I knew that was a trick question. I knew it. Like look, I told you, I watched everything NFL growing up. So if you're an NFL vet like me, you never forgot that the Indianapolis Colts were in the AFC East.
Way to go, Brian. I wouldn't have guessed that.
This next one might be trickier, Brian. You see the Jets just 2 there, and the Colts were dominating.
Is this an AFC Central question?
There are 4 teams in the AFC North. Guess where the Browns rank in division titles since 1990?
Oh, definitely 6. Yeah, it's 6.
Not 5th and not 6th. How about 7?
Oh, the Oilers. Yeah. Okay. Another trick question. Okay. Yeah, that was a good one. Okay.
It used to be the Central as well, which other teams were in. So,
damn.
Yeah. At one time, that AFC Central had 6 teams, right? 5 or was it 5?
Helmets.
It was 6, Brian.
I think it was
6.
Yeah,
it was 6 one point.
Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when the Arizona Cardinals were in the NFC East?
Yeah, man. They had to get them up out of there. Yeah, that was terrible.
Like, explain how the Cowboys were in the NFC East, but the Carolina Panthers were in the NFC South.
Well, because the Panthers came in '95, and there wasn't no more room for them.
I know.
Yeah, so they just threw them. They just threw them in the NFC West. That's why the NFC West was so jacked up growing up. Here you go. All right, you got Niners and Rams. All right, bet. So.
Saints.
But then, right, you got the Saints,
Saints and Cardinals.
because they were, you know, not exhibition team. They were a new team in what, 68, and then you get you got the Falcons. The Falcons in the NFC West. What are we doing here? Okay, and then in '95 when the Panthers come. What the Panthers in the NFC West? They had to realign the leagues in 2002. Man,
much better now. It's very, very coherent, I would say.
Did you? Oh, I said this before on the show. Remember Tampa Bay Buccaneers, AFC West alumni for 1 year.
The last order of business here on Arrowhead Allies. We can't thank everyone enough for watching. So many of you tuning in. We're in the comments. We can't thank you enough.
We thank you. We love you.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
We've got the Saints on Monday Night Football on the schedule, and we can confirm here at Starcade Media that Alvin Kamara will be playing because we saw him at SFC's The Catch fishing tournament down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he said if the game was in December, he wasn't going to play. And let's just roll this video.
You're coming to Arrowhead for the first time to play this defending two-time Super Bowl champs.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for that? You ready for
I don't
Arrowhead?
care about any of that you just said. I just need to know when it is. Hopefully it's in September and not like December. Because
you don't want to see that negative 27.
I don't want to see the code.
Nobody does.
Yeah. Well, if you're playing that normally, then shit, you like it's an advantage. For me, disadvantage. Sick that game. Sick that week.
We'll look for the injury report to come out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Y'all know what happened. Y'all got to hear first.
I don't know if Willie will let you do that. He'll be like, come on, man, I'm used to this.
Nah, we ain't teammates yet. We ain't not all the way.
Good thing we traded
Trading to the Dolphins because that's
Tano
the
Passanio.
attitude they had too.
Tano Passanio. We drafted him instead.
See that Stone Cold shirt he had on. Elvin's I'm a fan. I wanted him. Yeah, instead of Tano Passanio, but
yeah, we could have had him and Kareem Hunt. Just take him back to back.
That's interesting because what an embarrassment of riches. I'm all about embarrassments of riches, and teams don't really go that route because you feel a hole, you move on. That would have been something to really look at as Patrick Mahomes comes into the league right in that time. So wow,
Kareem Hunt has his little incident. Then okay, well I guess it's just Kamara now, but at least it's something.
Yeah, man.
Both on rookie deals at the same time. Like, man. This is like fantasy booking old pro wrestling pay-per-views. I love it.
We got to get into that.
That sounds good. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen.
WCW or WWF?
WCW.
Are you serious?
Yes,
yuck.
Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Sean Waltman, Six
Oh,
Pack.
they came from who they
Come
come
on.
from. Who birthed them?
Yeah.
Laparca? He's WCW born and bred.
Has Brian ever told you guys how big? Has Brian ever told you guys how big of a Bret Hitman Hart fan he is?
Oh yeah.
No, stop it. you don't put that on me because Noah. No. It's Clint. Clint has the shirt. There we go. I thought Noah had it. Clint has the shirt that everybody needs to have. The GOAT himself, HBK.
You're right. I mean, truth. That's
the
it.
better part of the Rockers, by the way.
He's too shady, bro. The fix was in. The fix was in.
Guys, we've lost Noah. That means that we are desperately out of time here on
He has a Laparca, man. You should be ashamed of yourself.
That looks
Laparca, you and your cruiserweight championship belt. Get out of here.
Absolutely, the chairman of WCW. Everybody, till next time. This has been Arrowhead Allies. Go.
Where the big boys play.
Note the adjective, play.